then we're going to call to order the admin committee meeting for July 14th, 2017. Are there any board member concerns to be expressed at this meeting? Hearing none, do we have any approved travel or out-of-country travel?
None to report from my end, Dr. Burke.
Okay. Are there any questions as it relates to the September? We're dark in August, right?
Yes, sir.
So is there any questions on the September 1 board meeting? Hearing none. Mr. O'Kelly?
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the Administrative Committee. This is the monthly report that we bring to you to let you know what's going on with the information management projects. It's a receive and file item. I'll talk about a few of them here. The website evaluation improvements. We showed you what the new website looks like about 2 admin committees ago. They're still in the process right now of migrating content. The improved site should be able to be deployed probably in about 60 days. We're going to be working on a rollout plan here shortly. The GIS project, that's a long-term project. That's moving forward. We committed to completing 9 of the 15 projects during this fiscal year. The permit systems automation project is, I think, probably the one that's most interesting. From an IT perspective, the dry cleaner, gas station application processes are pretty close to deployment. Users are finishing up testing. They're going to be finishing up, Lockheed's group will be finishing up testing on the automotive spray booth modules here in the next week or 2. So I think once that's all done, I think Lockheed would be looking at doing some demos with the permit streamlining group here probably in the next 30 to 60 days. And we'll be rolling that out. The IT review, Chris Marley is going to be retiring. He's not here today. He's going to be retiring in about 6 weeks. And so we're going to hold off slow down about 4 weeks on that until the new ADO of IM comes in so they can help guide that project from the beginning. I'll talk about agenda tracking system in a minute. With that, I think I'd be happy to answer any questions on the rest of this report.
No questions here.
Do you have any? No. None here. Thank you very much for that. That doesn't require a motion. So, item number 6 is Chris Marley, who's not there.
Yes, Dr. Burke, I'll take this one. Chris has the short timers disease and is out today. Basically, we just wanted to update the committee. We've been working on a new agenda tracking system. The system that we use to prepare the board packages is over 20 years old. It uses old Windows operating system. It's on an old server. For the admin committee and for the board, there'll be a lot of efficiencies from the staff perspective. From the administrative committee, from the board, it should be pretty seamless. There'll be an iPad app called Agenda to Go that you can use. You'll still be able to get information on the website as well. But it's going to help out on efficiencies on the staffing level. Probably roughly, I think, maybe 20 hours worth of work on each board package, just from how things are published, and even for archiving all of the board packages through our existing document management system. So we're looking to go live with that for the October board meeting. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on that item.
Sounds good.
Yesterday, I got a call I should probably watch the hearing board testimony about Paramount. So off and on all day yesterday, I watched the hearing board. I'm a very competitive guy, and I've been trying to get our website and our tech stuff to the level where Ben Benoit would say it was okay. okay? Because he's my resident expert. And by the way, Ben, yesterday I found out that if you take your iPhone and you have the video streaming of the hearing or any webcast from the district, it will play through your Tesla audio system. The video won't play,
Right.
but the audio will play.
They restrict that for some reason.
But that, I've been trying probably now for 10 or 15 years to improve the website. And I'm telling you, I had to call again yesterday and have Paul send me the bookmark. I still could not get to the webcast. I was hoping that Mr. Parley was here because I was going to concede to him that after 15 years, I give up. You know, he wins. I've done everything that I possibly could think of to get him to improve this website, and I have failed.
I think
So I may just, with a new guy, start out with a new attitude and ask our vice chair to work with him on trying to make it a little more. Now, yesterday I kept telling myself, maybe it's because you're old that you don't understand how to find this. And I don't think that was true, because technologically, I'm fairly up to date. But it was just bone chilling yesterday. So I related that to this item, because if I'm having that kind of problem, I'm worried about how do people who are applying for permits and working their way through the system, how are they actually finding their way through our system, or are they having problems, or do we know?
So the answer I'm going to say is I'm not aware of any complaints, but I don't think that means that there aren't. And I'm looking in the audience maybe for some of the, well, Rita Loof's saying she has a problem, but maybe that's just generally speaking.
Well, Michael, I'll ask one question about the new site. When we do have web broadcasts going out of the building, it should be very, right on the front of the page, the front page of the website. There should be a hot button that pops up, hey, there's a broadcast happening now, meeting going on, or meeting today. And that type of a link that then takes you straight to the YouTube feed would be a whole lot easier than trying to dig through and figure out, okay, I got to go to the calendar, then look at the calendar. Okay, is there a meeting going on? Oh, look, the page for this meeting is going on. Oh, and I can click on a meeting. Great. I usually just go through, I go straight to YouTube and I Google AQMD, and generally if we're broadcasting, it pops up that way. But that's how I do it. But it should be on our site, and it should be easier that way. Although I tried to get on there this morning while we were in the hallway, and the Wi-Fi isn't working here either. So we are still seeing issues that I think the Wi-Fi, I'm not sure if we're upgrading that as part of the back end. I know we're working on the back end infrastructure right now, but if we don't have it out for RFP yet, at some point we need, or budgeted, we need to start talking about our Wi-Fi connectivity here in the building too. I think I've had that access point reset in this room probably 5 times now. It's time for some new hardware. So let's also talk about that later on, if it's coming forward. Or if it isn't coming forward, we definitely need to start looking at bringing that forward for the next.
So this is all part of the comprehensive IT review that the administrative committee and the governing board have approved. We've got a contract in place. We're ready to get started. We're just holding off again for 2 to 4 weeks until Chris's replacement is here.
Okay.
But these are all issues that are going to be addressed.
Have we hired somebody?
We're in the process right now. If everything goes well, we'll have somebody here 2 weeks from this Monday.
Okay. Does that item require a motion? No.
No.
Okay, here are the action items. Do we have any board member assistants?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
How about,
Yeah.
Yes, Dr.
Somebody
Bird.
said yes.
okay, who do we have?
Nicole.
So there's, I think, 4 from Mayor Cacchiotti. All of them are renewals except for one new person, which we reviewed and he qualifies as Tim South. I don't remember.
Oh, I think it
Yeah,
says we
where is it?
distributed it at the
It's,
meeting.
Here it is, right here. Okay, it still has it. So it's the reapproval of Mayor Cacciotti's assistants, David Chemansky, Glenn Duncan, and Ben Wong and Sho Tae. And then also a new board assistant, Tim Sandoval, who is currently the mayor of Pomona and has worked in public office for years and qualifies as a board member consultant.
And I'm sorry, who is she for?
These are all for Mayor Cacchiotti.
Mayor Cacchiotti?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion for approval?
I'll move approval.
I'll move the item.
For a second.
Second.
Can the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chair Benoit?
Aye.
Good to see you. Dr. Parker?
Aye.
Dr. Burke? I say that.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Item number 8.
This was a follow-up.
Is there any discussion on this item?
Did we update the times with the request we got from the member Nelson?
Right.
That could change?
I think this item was, this is Jill Wynot. This item came about because Supervisor Nelson at the last governing board meeting raised a concern about the schedule of the board meetings not being the first Friday of the months. And he asked that if we did not adhere to that first Friday of the month, that perhaps we should just go dark those months. So we added this to this committee because we thought this would be the right place to talk about the board meeting schedule and then also any potential changes to committee meeting schedules. So there isn't any.
If that was done, would there be any months we were dark?
It could be July, depending on when the 4th of July holiday hit,
For the first.
or January 1st. So it could affect January and July, some years and some years not.
Once every 7 years.
I think it could be more than that, because if the New Year's Day fell on Thursday, I think we'd all probably say we don't want to be here at 9 o'clock the following day. So I think there's more than, probably 3 out of.
Yeah, you're right.
Three or
You're
four.
absolutely right.
Isn't our policy not that we're gonna have it every Fridays, but what the board votes on at the beginning of the year for the entire years?
Yeah, that's exactly
I
right.
mean, because it seems to me that we will try to accommodate every Friday if we can, but ultimately at the beginning of the year, or whenever we vote on it at the middle of the year, everybody knows what those dates themselves are. I got the impression that what Supervisor Nelson was saying is that once we establish it, obviously it's nice if we could have it every.
No, that's not what he was saying. Here's what he was saying, that if you move it at all, it conflicts with Metro.
Right.
That's what he was saying.
Well,
So I agree with you, Dr. Parker. I think that it's been historically, for the past 24 years that I've been here, that we put out a schedule. The schedule is voted on, everybody knows the dates of the meeting. And I don't see any way around that, because I don't think that to accommodate 1 or 2 board members' schedules, that the business of the district should go dark for a month. I just don't think that serves the public's interest.
It's certainly such that since I've been on the board over the last 6 years, board members for various different reasons, emergencies, vacations, or whatever, maybe choose not to be here on the dates that the board meetings are there, but we don't stop the whole work because one of the two of the board members can't come. And I don't think we should make that, a kind of principle that we have to adhere to, a certain principle. We do it in the beginning of the year and everybody knows, and if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't,
Even though yesterday at our hearing board, 2 members were going on vacation, so they shut down the whole hearing board for 2 weeks. Something I just can't understand. That's not in the public interest. And Kurt, I'd ask you to speak to the chairman of the hearing board and say, how is the public, we have alternates for the hearing board. How is the public interest served by they get a pay raise and first thing they do is they authorize a 2-week vacation. I'm not sure I understand that.
Oh, no.
And Kurt, I have to say that I was disappointed, not in you, but in our legal people from the district who didn't speak up and say, when the chairman of the hearing board says, well, 2 members of our board are not going to be here, so we're going to continue for 2 weeks, didn't say the public interest is not served. We're talking about some very dangerous issues down there in Paramount, and nobody said a word. Thank you. So I would also speak to our people who are in there, because they serve the public interest also. Anyway.
Well, I have one question. Kurt, who makes the decision whether or not an alternate comes in or not? Is it the chairman, or is it the policy itself that governs how this board shall operate?
I believe it's the chair of the hearing board who makes that call.
If a case is
He
scheduled,
has,
then we will bring
He
them
or
in.
she.
They're all on call right now. They're all ready to come in next week if a case is to be scheduled. No cases were filed, no hearings were
What are you
scheduled
saying?
for next week.
where's this?
This is Ms. Gazzaro, the clerk for the clerk of the boards. She said that there are no new cases that have been filed for the next 2 weeks.
Well, next week. Next week is the only week we have two days. We have 2 board members out. Their alternates are lined up and ready to serve in the event that a case does come in. We, the next week is a full week.
She continued the Paramount case.
We have a full.
So the Paramount.
She continued the Paramount case.
No.
That's the most important case before the hearing board this year so far. And she continued it for 2 weeks because 2 people were not going to be there. How do you explain that?
I'll find out, Dr. Burke.
No, I'm asking the clerk of the board. She was the one offering this information.
Well, I think she was speaking to a different point, Dr. Burke. And that was.
Well, she said there were no cases pending, is what she said. And that's not true. The Paramount case is pending. It was continued. Right or wrong, Kurt?
Well, I think.
If I'm wrong, tell me.
Well, I think she was saying that there are no cases that are upcoming, and that if any new cases are filed, for those new cases, they'll bring in an alternate.
So once the case is
If you have the most important case of the year, if you have what do you need to keep going more than the most important case of the year? That's like,
Yeah. Dr. Burke, I hear you. I totally hear you.
okay?
Can I ask
Okay, back to our agenda.
Dr. Berger, I'll just ask one more question. I'll probably regret asking. But anyhow, once they start a case with that set of board members, is that they can no longer they can't just switch to an alternate midway through the case, right?
No.
So that's why they're having to continue that particular
They
case.
could, but those alternates would then need to review that full day, so they would need to listen to about 8 hours of audio from yesterday and review all the materials. And then if the case didn't finish, when the alternate is sitting, then the original board member would then maybe have to come
listen
back
to
in,
all
listen
that.
to the 8 hours, and then, sub back in.
So it could have been done, but instead they continued it.
And that was, they asked for the input of all the parties in that, so we don't know if the other council was available next week, we don't know the circumstances. It was just decided to continue it to the following week, so it is scheduled for Tuesday the 25th, 1 week from.
So it's 1 week is how, okay. All right. Thank you.
And Mr. Vice Chair, you know, the recommendation of the expert that we had to evaluate the hearing board was elevate their salary and make them a really full-time board, right? You elevate their salary and the first thing they do is shut down for 2 weeks. So they didn't get the memo from the expert. Okay, enough of my rant. Where are we here?
Number 9.
Wait, number 8, did we need a motion?
We're not
No,
changing
it's not
anything.
changing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We'll leave it alone.
We need to approve number 8, right?
Dr. Burke, if you're just going to leave the schedule that the board's already adopted in place and not make any changes to it, then I don't think you need to do anything here.
Okay, fine. Then we'll go to you, Kurt, on 9.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Burke. This item concerns a Tesoro refinery project in the cities of Carson and Wilmington. The district has been sued over a CEQA document it prepared for the project. Under district rules, Tesoro is required to indemnify the district's litigation costs subject to an indemnification agreement that's to be approved by the administrative committee. We've negotiated an indemnification agreement with Tesoro, and we're recommending that you approve the agreement.
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chairman,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
No. Motion passes.
motion passes.
Item 10.
Wait.
Dr. Burke, it takes 3 votes, I think, for an item to pass committee.
It takes what?
It takes
3 votes.
3 votes.
Then the motion didn't pass.
Right.
Then item 10.
Thank you, Dr. Burke.
Well,
Thanks, Dr. Burke, committee members. This item requests approval to execute a contract for insurance brokerage services. These are services that we go out RFP every 3 years. We did an RFP. The Alliant Insurance Services is our current broker. What they propose is 2% higher than what we currently pay. There was another lower cost vendor, but looking at the experience of our current provider, staff believes it's in the best interest of the district to execute a contract with Alliant Insurance Services. They've been able to get us cost savings. They've worked well with us in processing claims that we've had. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions by my colleagues?
nope, I'll move the item.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chairman Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Yes.
Dr. Burke,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Item 10. Item 11. I'm sorry, item 11.
Thanks again, Dr. Burke, committee members. I want to state on this item number 11, we sent out a revised version of this item yesterday. There was an error in the table that showed what some of these positions, the pay that they would be receiving. So from the governing board perspective, some of the positions that showed there was a pay increase, there is not. From the employee perspective, we apologize. I mean that sincerely, even though it sounded deadpan. This item here, basically, about a year and a half ago, there was an employee in the IM group that requested a reclassification of his position. He was a computer operator. If you look at the job description and even the title of that, these positions have changed materially in the 20 years since these terms have been used. And he was successful in getting the position reclassified. So we hired a consultant to come and look at those classifications within our IM group to determine whether the job specs still matched up with technology today, and they determined that they did not. So they went through and looked at 13 different positions, made recommendations for changes in the description of the job duties, and in some cases recommended that the pay be increased. So out of 13 positions, 6 of them would have some pay increase. The other 6 would remain stagnant, but with new job titles and classifications. That's the major portion of this item. There's also an office assistant position in compliance and enforcement that's doing staff assistant level work, and we're requesting to have that reclassified as well. Also, kind of third item here, back during the budget, the board approved the creation of a director of communications position and budget for that position. We just need to get that included in the salary resolution. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item.
Any questions from my colleagues on this item?
I have none.
Is there is there a motion on this item?
I'll move the item.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
I think I'm gonna vote no on this since I didn't like the apology. I was just kidding. I was just kidding. I vote yes. I vote yes.
motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question before we go on to the other. I'd ask that that we look at and reconsider reconsideration of number 9, since I was one of the yes votes, as to any reason of what it could be, since this is a means by which the district can be reimbursed for its legal costs, that we could have you to reconsider your vote.
I'd second that. As a seconder.
Okay. Okay. Well, do we need to take a roll call on reconsideration, Kirk?
I believe you do.
Yes, okay. Okay. Would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chair
Nancy?
Vice
Aye.
Chair Benoit, Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Me, yeah, okay, I'll vote for that.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay, now you have to take a vote on the item.
Well, I make a motion then.
Somebody needs a motion.
So I'll make the motion again that we move this forward. And Dr. Burke, I understand some reluctance, but this is just so that Torsoro will reimburse us as we now get pulled into a lawsuit that was created because of their, yeah, it's our document, but they're the party to it. So I would hope that we would want them to pay if we're going to go into a lawsuit with CB and all the other groups that are suing under that environmental document now. So again, I'll move the item.
I second the movement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
Aye.
Dr. Burke,
Okay, I'll vote aye.
motion passes 3-0.
I succumb to the pressure. I succumb to the pressure. Okay, Mr. O'Kelly, you're up to bat again.
Thanks again, Dr. Burke, committee members. This item seeks to close and transfer some residual balance from 5 special revenue funds and 1 enterprise fund that really need cleanup. There was some discussion back during the budget hearings regarding all of the funds that we have. and whether or not we were, looking at those to spend the money on projects. And so our first cut was to look to see what funds do we have that could be easily transferred into other funds that were more appropriate to clean some of these things up. So the board letter has an attachment of all 55 funds that the district has. It shows the cash balance, the encumbrances, so projects that the board's already approved, and the balance left to be spent. A lot of them are big ticket funds that you recognize, Prop 1B, Moyer, that come to you regularly. Staff is going through some of the funds that are a little more specific, you don't see regularly, probably smaller dollar amounts, still in the millions. But our first cut was to clean up some of these funds, and so we're requesting that the 6 funds listed in this board letter, that the residual balances be transferred to other funds that are more regularly used so that the monies may be spent. The biggest one, I think, of note is the CNG fueling station fund. There's about $1.2 million that we're recommending be transferred to the infrastructure improvement fund. So when the CNG station was created, there was some profit made from the station over the years with the purpose of using that monies to refresh the infrastructure of the station. But about a year and a half ago, the board approved the sale of those station assets and a lease with a third party to operate that station. And they're now responsible to upgrade the infrastructure themselves. And so there's $1.2 million that was going to be used for CNG fueling station infrastructure upgrades. We're recommending it be moved to the Infrastructure Improvement Fund to potentially be used at a later date for some of the building infrastructure projects we have. We have multi-million-dollar projects that are coming up over the next 5 years regarding the aging building. This doesn't request approval to spend any of the money at this point. We would come back to the board for that purpose. But this would help us accumulate some funds to pay for those projects. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. There will be follow-up board letters as we go through all of these funds coming back requesting projects and things of that nature. But this is the first step.
I have one question, and I'm quite sure I can anticipate what the answer may be. There's no prohibition itself on taking funds that was designated for one particular area and then transferring it to another that we would ultimately have someone to come back and say we have to repay those funds back to the source of where we got them from.
So,
For instance, if we got something from the federal government for a particular purpose, and now we're saying we're repurposing that for something else, are we restricted in any legal way doing that?
So with these, so we take a look at that, Dr. Parker, as part of the process when we're determining whether we should or can transfer these funds. I think the only one that there's maybe a little bit of a question is on the fund where there's about $207. The other funds, we believe we have the authority to move. Legal has done some research and beat this up a little bit.
Probably spent more than $207 as research.
Yeah, so the $207, I think we're recommending it go to the general fund. And so the worst case scenario is there's a liability that the state comes back and says, hey, that residual interest of $207 was ours. We could check with them to see if they'd like us to cut a check, but it may cause more problems as opposed to us just holding the $207 and making the payment at a later date if necessary. So the short answer is we believe we have authority to transfer all these funds. And I'll caveat just the $207 may be the only one that we could get some clarification for. I would still recommend at least transferring to the general fund so we can get the fund closed, but we could check with the state to see if they're going to insist on us cutting a check or not.
Why couldn't we, can I ask this general question, why couldn't we just charge that off to our expenses of doing that and zero it out?
The problem, Dr. Parker, is just when you send money to the state and they don't know what it's for or they don't necessarily want the money back, it usually snowballs into a... No, that wasn't my question. My question, why can't we charge it as our internal expense and then just zero the fund out? Well, so Dr. Parker, there's still physically $207 physically in the fund. And so we're just asking to transfer that cash to the general fund. It's just the cash is still there no matter what the accounting entries are.
Okay.
You're not getting what he said. What he's saying is, why can't we charge an expense of $207?
It would have to be related to that specific Prop 1B funding. We may find ourselves in a little bit of trouble if the state does come out and audit. think it's one thing if we just transferred residual interest that we could argue was ours anyways. If we come up with an expense that I don't think we necessarily have that we could allocate to that program, we didn't maybe end up with a finding over $207.
And Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, most of these, you can only charge an administrative fee based on, so if you give away $100,000 for a school bus, you can charge 2% for the admin fee or
Right.
something like that.
It's whatever the
So if
percentage
you try and
is.
charge $207 and you're not charging it against something, they're gonna say,
Right.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, classic government finance at its best, chasing around $207, what we're all working on here.
I hope that makes sense, Dr. Parker. I think it puts us at a little more audit risk if we try to come up with an administrative expense to charge against it. I think we'd be better transferring the funds and then going from there and arguing that those are our funds due to residual. It's because it's just residual interest.
Okay.
I'll move the item unless there's any other questions.
No,
No, I have none. Second,
would the clerk call the roll?
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
aye.
Dr. Burke,
Aye.
motion passes 3-0.
Mr. Alatorre?
Yes, sir, Dr. Byrd. This item is to issue an RFP for our legislative consultants in Sacramento. The current contract expires December 31st, 2017. So we're seeking again to issue the RFP for consultant services in the year 2018. That's it.
Is this all of our Sacramento consultants?
Yes, sir.
And they're at the end of their extensions?
Yes, this is the last of they're on their last year of their 2 one-year extensions.
Okay. I'll accept a motion on this item.
I'll move the item.
Second,
Nancy, would you call the roll?
Vice Chair Benoit,
Aye.
Dr. Parker,
aye.
Dr. Burke,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay. When will that come back to us, Mr. Alatorre?
That'll go back to
When will that process?
the board. The board will, it'll be active at the board meeting in September to issue the RFP. The RFP will be out for a month. We anticipate getting the RFPs or the proposals in October. We'll send it to, bring it to Ledge Committee or Admin Committee, whichever you like, in November, and then issue, then board in December.
If you take it to the Ledge Committee, then it has to come, and that slows it down another month.
So then we'll just go straight to the Admin Committee and then go to the board.
That would be my suggestion, but I have mixed emotion here because we need the chairman of the Ledge Committee to kind of sign off, so.
That's Judy.
But she is on the admin committee, so
Yeah.
she can voice her concerns there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's bring it straight to admin. And we have the written reports as usual from Mr. Alatorre, which take no comment. Is there any other business before the admin committee? Is there any public comment in CCA?
There is not, Dr. Burke.
There is none here, so we will adjourn. The next meeting will be September 8th at 10 a.m.